One thing that's true about most artists, if you know them well enough, is their embracing of their nocturnal spirit. And for this episode of Tacos and Tastemakers, our next guest is no different. Lady Midnight, who has performed with VANDAAM, Malamanya, and Parables of Neptune, and now in her current iteration of going solo, it is what the effort of that nocturnal spirit and hard work bring her, which is breezy and whimsical tunes that recall 1990s hip-hop, soul, and the yesteryear of what good music can bring. We discuss not only that in this episode of Tacos and Tastemakers at El Taco Riendo in Northeast Minneapolis, we also discuss her intersectionality as an artist and the multitudes that are contained within the spirit of Lady Midnight. All this and more on today's episode of Tacos and Tastemakers. Myself and Lady Midnight joined up at El Taco Riendo, located off 24th and Central Avenue in Northeast Minneapolis. Not only is it known for having the finest tinga de pollo tacos, but it's also known for filling hearty appetites with its foot-long burritos and tortas. Hola, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Tacos and Tastemakers. I'm your host with the most, Egypto Knuckles. Across from me today stands a very esteemed and very special guest. Please give it up for the warm welcome of Lady Midnight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So,
cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Cheers. Salud. All day. All day. My upbringing here is from like a third culture kid standing where like my parents came from Egypt, immigrated here in the mid 70s, and I was born about 2 weeks after they had gotten citizenship here in the States and stuff like that. And, I was born over in St. Paul, right off United Hospital, shouts. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if you could break it down for me, because I don't think many know or know about your upbringing and stuff like that. So I think it's important that they know the culture. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. So I'm also, I guess I could say that I'm also first generation immigrant, but also second generation.
Absolutely.
So my mother is half Mexican. Mm-hmm. I guess you can't really say half anymore because of like Ancestry.com.
Oh, 23andMe and all that mess. But, I get it.
But anyhow, I'm still gonna say it.
You can absolutely
she's half
say
Mexican.
Absolutely.
And then half European, split up between like French and Scottish.
Right.
On my grandmother's side, and then my grandfather was from Mexico City. So that's my mom. Okay. And then she met my father in Texas, actually, who is from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Mm-hmm. So I identify as being Mexican and Haitian. And also indigenous.
Absolutely.
My family is indigenous in Mexico, in the Puebla region of Zacapuatzla, so Aztec. And yeah.
No, absolutely.
That's my heritage.
That's really awesome. I think the first time that I saw that I could do music or something related to like journalism or something like that, was, being able to know that, and I mean, like, I didn't know this until later on in life, but I used to listen to Casey Kasem in the Weekend Top 40 a lot, growing up as a youth. Yeah. And what I wasn't aware of for the longest time was that he was Lebanese.
Oh,
so
I think I knew that.
So like, when I found out about his passing, it was something that kind of shocked me to know that he was Lebanese and that he was putting on for the culture and stuff like that. I'm doing it in his really own and unique way and being super descriptive and giving a lot of the musicians that I listen to a backbone and a backstory that really resonated with me and stuff like that. What was that moment for you? Like, was there
when I knew
like
I could go into
where you were like, I think I could do this?
There was. So my first, I have to give props to my sister, Leah.
Shouts.
Shout out to Leah. Because she took me to my first concert ever.
Who was your first concert, if I may ask?
It's a really great one.
Tell me.
So it was at Paisley Park.
Wow.
It was at Paisley Park.
Already
and it was
on.
this it was a 3-day festival that Prince had put on with just like, I think, favorite artists.
Wow.
And it was one of the nights that it was Alicia Keys opening.
Wow. Songs in A minor, Alicia Keys.
Exactly. Really early.
That's incredible.
For Common.
Yeah.
Who opened for Erykah Badu.
Crazy.
And then Prince got on stage too and kind of like And I remember just waiting for her for so long because I had just gotten Mama's Gun, and
For sure.
like love that album.
That's one of my favorites as well.
And just like I'm so excited to see her. The cement floor was killing me though because I was trying to be cute, you know, wearing my high heels and like waiting. And she comes out about a little bit over 2 hours late.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, she's on her own time. We're here waiting. I will wait.
Absolutely.
And then she gets on stage and I completely forgot about like how I couldn't feel my toes, how I'd been waiting there. Like it was just a magical experience.
Absolutely. I felt the same way seeing her at Soundset myself.
Yeah.
And like seeing songs like Love of My Life, but specifically seeing a song like Green Eyes, which is like one of my favorite.
That's my favorite Erykah Badu song.
Yo, one of the same, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like seeing Green Eyes performed on that stage is just so incredible to me. You know what I'm saying? So like just seeing like that and then like hearing other songs that I grew up with, like Love of My Life and, you know, hearing On and stuff like that is just like an all-encompassing experience. But like when you saw that, when she took that stage, like walk me through that.
Yeah, because I remember she was still wearing her hair wrapped.
Yes.
You know, and there was that song, her song Clever, that it was part of the show that she kind of like unmasked herself. Yeah. So she says, you know, my dress ain't cost nothing but $7. Right. And I think it was it was the ritual with which she stepped to the stage first. You know, it was her band playing. It feels like a similar show even to this day.
Right.
She had incense burning. She came on stage. She had her teas.
For sure.
She poured herself her tea.
Absolutely.
She addressed, you know, the crowd. She addressed kind of like the ancestors, the spirits in the room.
Her addressing of the crowd is like one of my favorite things.
Yeah, she sets the tone. She's respectful within the space.
Absolutely.
And then she like completely takes you on this journey.
Absolutely.
And I remember seeing her just dance on the stage. And kind of doing these modern dance moves. And I had already been tap dancing at this point for a few years.
Right.
And studying modern dance and ballet.
Right.
And I think watching somebody put all of those forms in one expression on stage.
Right.
Allowed me to see that I could be more than just one type of artist. And just to be able to express myself in multiple ways that conversed with one another.
Absolutely.
So that was like, it wasn't necessarily an aha moment that's like, oh, I can be her.
Right.
But it was definitely an aha moment to understanding different forms of expression.
For sure. And like I would just take like 5 CDs a day and just immerse myself in them. And one of the artists, which, you know, I think is not too far off from, you know, what you exude musically speaking as well as personality wise, but Bjork always struck a close resonance to me with you. And especially, you know, for you having like, you know, coming from like the world of Malamanya where you did straight up salsa to doing VANDAAM and you having the trip hop like a facing vibe about you and stuff like that, to now in the current iteration of Adriana Lady Midnight, you know what I'm saying? And like also Parables of Neptune and other things that get intersect along the way. And so like that theme of intersectionality strikes strong with you, and especially in your music. Can you talk about a little bit about that?
I did that for like, you know, I did dance for like 12 years and then I studied photography in school for like 6 years.
Absolutely.
And then I came to music.
Okay.
So I came to music. It's actually a weird story. I went to creative arts school.
I'm a fan of weird stories.
Yeah. And I had done this like track so long ago. And there was somebody who went to MCAD, Minneapolis College of Art and Design.
Yep.
And asked me if I still sang. And I was like, how do you even know who I am? And how do you know that I sing?
Right.
And they had remembered 6 years earlier listening to a track of me. Like they graduated 1 year after me. And so I didn't go to school with them, but they kind of looked familiar. I was like, well, they're like, yeah, I remember this teacher playing this track and like, you speak Spanish, right? Because like my buddy is looking for a singer for his group, Malamanya.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I sing. I've never sung with anybody. let me try it out. So after I graduated from school, I auditioned for this group and they like loved it. And then that kind of started me on this musical trajectory.
Absolutely.
So I also focused really heavily just on music. I think it wasn't until recently,
right,
when I started doing the Lady Midnight project that I felt, and it started with VANDAAM, because that's kind of when Lady Midnight became that persona.
Absolutely.
That I started, like, it wasn't until then that I started to merge all of my interests together, the idea of like dance, theatrics,
Absolutely.
The subject matter of my portraits that I was taking in school,
Absolutely.
with how I costumed myself and costumed other people.
Absolutely.
And then my music. So I think it all was for a reason that I ended up studying these different art forms.
Right.
And so far, I do feel like music is one of the ways that I can channel all of my forms of expression.
Absolutely.
It just lends itself really nicely.
And it's certainly, if people haven't seen you live, like, that comes out in spades.
It's a different experience.
It is.
Live,
It is
sure.
a transcendental experience that
Thank
like
you.
both like suspend space and time. It was like you had on a pink wig. It was like a very short, like to the neck pink wig, and you like turned around.
Was it purple?
Might have been purple
probably
as well.
purple, 'cause-
Yeah, Lil Kim. Shouts out to Lil Kim and the
Bob,
VMA
yes.
vibes. You know what I'm saying? And you had your back to the crowd, very like Linkin Park Numb video. I think it was Numb, or it was like probably was Faint, that they were standing with their backs to the crowd in the video. But I believe it was Faint. And so you were standing with your back to the crowd, and then all of a sudden it's like this voice came on, and it was like a robotic voice that was like, "Please step forward, step forward." And it's like you're making sure that the crowd is in sync already with you, right before you even let off a note of singing. And I think that that's just, again, it's like, you know, it totally like gives the midnight vibe aesthetic to it. And as far as that's concerned, that's really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So, you know, I mean, like, I would be remiss in not shouting that out.
Oh man, no, thank you. Each performance is really different, and so I love hearing people's stories of like when's the last, like the performance that sticks in their mind the most.
Absolutely.
There was one that happened. I actually like bruised both of my heels like a couple weeks before I was gonna perform at Soundset,
Ah, yes.
and that was a tough moment.
That is a tough moment.
But I had like so many shows going on, and there was one in particular that I
Right.
was going to be playing with I Self Divine and Brother Ali, and I hadn't played with them before, and it felt
Right.
very big in my career at the moment. And I couldn't walk.
Oh.
I literally couldn't even stand. It was so painful. They weren't broken, but the bone was bruised, and so I don't know if you've ever bruised a bone.
That's
It's
tough.
really, really painful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I just wish it broke because it would probably heal faster.
Right.
And be so tender. But I thought I was gonna quit, and
Right.
then I was just like, I have to cancel. I can't do it. And he was my partner at the time, but he's my
Right.
partner now. But
Right.
anyhow, he was suggesting, like you can't quit. Like you can sit, right? You can sit and sing. And I'm like, yeah, I can sit and sing, but
Right.
I can't walk. I can't
Right.
get out of this
Right.
house.
Right.
He's like, no, you're going to get you'll be lifted. Like we'll lift you on a chair.
That's what's up.
So I remember that. And that's still like the favorite performance for a couple people, was like at that moment that I was so vulnerable. All I could do was get lifted onto a chair, onto the stage. And I'm like, how am I going to make this interesting?
Right.
So I veiled myself. I had a mask. I was like, it'll be a reveal.
Right.
I'll have to go through these stages within myself
Right.
and just make it work.
Absolutely.
And I think that question of like, is she or isn't she going to stand, was so powerful for people.
Right.
And that I didn't stand the entire time. They didn't know that I physically was not able to.
Right.
But they just felt like, this is an intentional choice
Absolutely.
to play with this tension.
That's amazing.
And I see myself going back to doing that particular type of performance. I have kind of gone away a bit from doing more artistic performance art,
Absolutely.
which I think is probably why I remind you a bit of Bjork for that reason. But I believe that the next reiterations of Lady Midnight will have more of that.
For sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
in the future.
Absolutely. thank you to Lady Midnight right next to me.
Thank you.
Lady Midnight, what you got going on?
My album, Death Before Mourning, coming out very soon. Check out the single, Power.
And that's it. Peace.